Discover how to close more deals faster at higher prices and market high-ticket offers in today's episode with Craig Andrews. Welcome to Awakened Titans podcast with Lily Patrascu. Mind-blowing conversations with influential business titans sharing how you can manifest abundance, love, joy, success through quantum awakening, quantum manifestation, quantum healing, quantum miracles, exponential business growth, and innovative products and services. Now, Craig Andrews is the principal ally and founder of marketing agency Allies for Me. Using a proven method that mimics the stages of courtship, Allies for Me helps companies find strangers and convert them into high-paying customers. A first-time offer is like a coffee date that accelerates high-ticket sales. The first question is, you've had great success marketing high-ticket offers. Can you give us an overview of your approach to selling high-ticket value products and services?
Absolutely. First off, Lily, what a delight to be here. Thank you for having me. So the key to selling high-ticket offers is oddly, quit trying to sell the high ticket offer. Sell a much lower ticket, irresistible offer on the front end. And if you mentioned how it mimics the stages of courtship. Instead of going for marriage, just go for the coffee date. Coffee will lead to marriage.
Thank you. What are some differences between marketing high ticket products versus low ticket products?
There's in many ways, there's a lot of similarities. Where it becomes different is the amount of trust that's needed. But even at low ticket things, there's places where people are afraid of looking stupid, of paying money to somebody and not getting what they expected. And so that barrier exists at all levels. But when you start going into the higher ticket stuff, you start running into things where often there's more than one person that has to approve it. It's a often longer term commitment. So like MSPs, managed service providers, the outsourced IT companies, a lot of them have multi-year commitments. And so when you're trying to sell that, it's I can think of one company, their commitment was a 3-year commitment with an average contract value of $250,000. Well, if whoever's making that decision makes the wrong decision, their fear is they may lose their job. And so it just takes a lot more trust. It takes a little bit more buy-in. You have to often sell to more than just one person.
Thank you. You emphasize offering first-time offers before introducing your high-ticket offers. Can you explain what a first-time offer is and why is it so effective?
Yeah. Well, let me give 2 examples. Let me paint a picture because I think this will help people digest it. So there was a company in the United States years ago called Columbia House Records. And they had a deal back when albums were popular the first time. I think they're coming back. They had a deal where for 1 penny, you would get 13 albums for a penny. Well, if you're the type of person that wants to build a record collection, that's an irresistible offer. You pay them that penny. Yeah, they're going to make their money on the back end. But you're like, I can buy a lot of albums before I'm in the red. And so that would be what we would call a simple offer. Simple offers don't work for high ticket sales. So let me give another example, not an offer that we designed, but it's one that I think people will get the concept. They'll be able to relate to it. There was a hotel in Las Vegas. This guy buys a hotel. It's a dumpy little hotel, and he decided to make it a player in Vegas. And he ran a special saying, give me $396 and I will give you 3 days and 2 nights in one of our suites. When you arrive, there will be a bottle of champagne waiting for you in your room. All of your drinks on property are free, whether you're gambling or not. Even if you're sitting in one of our entertainment lounges, you pay nothing more for your drinks. Not only that, but for your $396, I will give you $600 of chips to use in the casino. Right. And so for those that are listening, your eyes just like popped out. And because it's a shocking offer that's packed full of value. And if you look at that offer, that's what I would call a complex offer. And if you're doing high ticket services, you need a complex offer to lead to it. But let's break that down because there's some really cool things built into that offer. The first thing is every single item is a pretty good deal, except maybe the bottle of champagne. The 96 was a discount off the published room rate. Bottle of champagne, maybe $100, but still, it's free bottle of champagne. If there's two people in the room that like to drink, they're going to drink hundreds of dollars of booze over the course of 3 days. And so that's a deal. And then $600 of free gambling money is a deal. The beauty of this offer is they understood that their most profitable customers were people that like to drink and gamble. If they could get somebody in the casino, they were about to make a bunch of money. If they could get them drinking in the casino, they were about to make a whole lot of money. So the offer attracts their ideal client while repelling the non-ideal client. For me, I don't gamble. I drink some wine, but I don't think they were serving the wine that would excite me. And so I'm going to go stay at another hotel in Vegas rather than that one. And so that's kind of the concept of it's a offer that brings in your ideal clients and paints a path to where you really make money in your business.
Thank you. What's the psychological reason why the first time offer, this incredible offer works?
Oh my goodness. There's at least a half dozen psychological triggers that are being flipped in the process. Let's start with this status quo. We all have cognitive biases, and this status quo bias is a big one. So right now, if I'm not your customer, the easiest thing for me to do is to continue to not be your customer. So it just uses this amazing offer to switch me from being your customer or your client to being your client. And once that happens, it's so much easier to upsell. So that's one of them. The other thing is it's just removing huge amounts of risk. So remember I talked about the MSP, 3-year, $250,000 commitment. If you make a wrong mistake, not only are you out of a lot of money, but you're in this miserable relationship for 3 years. And so people slow down and they're like, I don't know, that's a lot of commitment and it's a lot of money. I really want to think through this. Well, when you do the first time offer, they discover what it's like to work with you. And because in the offer, you want to structure these little workshops where you work one-on-one with them. So they get to discover, oh my goodness, I really like Lily. I want to work with Lily because this has been amazing. Similarly, if you're the one selling the offer, guess what? If you're in a service business, everybody is not your customer. Good customers are not people with money. Good customers are people with money that share your values, that work well with you. And so you can use it as well to separate out the bad clients. And you can just say, you get to the end of the first time offer, which is usually a mini project, and you just say, hey, here you go. You got everything you need to go and run with it. We wish you well. And they're walking away with a ton of value, but you're not making a commitment to a relationship that's going to be bad for your business.
Thank you. I find that the first time offer can be like a double-edged sword. The reason for that is that imagine that a person that could normally spend, I don't know, 100,000, 300,000 with your business, let's say 50,000, whatever, and they experience a low ticket offer, your first time offer, and they dislike it, then you've kind of basically given the customer a reason not to buy the higher ticket. But of course, it's a reason for them to try out the product or the service. And so if the product or service is really good, then yes, it's an incentive for them to kind of buy the next thing. But if that time offer is not so great for them, they will end up not buying the higher ticket stuff. What do you feel about that?
Well, I think first off, you have to believe in what you're doing and you have to be delivering a quality service. And so if they don't like your first time offer, if it's a bad experience for them, your core offer is going to be a bad experience for them. And if you have a client that's having a bad experience, that client's going to suck the life out of you and your business. And so it's better to not do business with them.
Thank you. What are the key elements of a successful first-time offer that effectively leads potential customers into your high-ticket offer?
Yeah, so there's 5 key ingredients, and then there's a few other details. The first of the 5 key ingredients is it has to be an impulse purchase. That means coins in the cushion of your couch, money in your wallet, or the B2B equivalent of that. If somebody has to ask permission to spend the money, it's priced too high. If they will ever be held accountable for how that money is spent, it's priced too high. The second ingredient is it has to deliver disproportionate value to price. If they have to do any type of mental calculation to figure out if it's a good deal. It's not delivering enough value. It has to be overwhelming value. Kind of like that Bob Stupak Las Vegas example that I gave a few minutes ago. The third trait, and a lot of people get this one wrong, is it has to solve a problem. Folks come to me and they say, well, we have an audit. And I say, all an audit does is expose the problems that are there. It solves a problem. Other people say, well, we do an assessment, and an assessment is just a nice word for an audit. Now, you can have an audit or an assessment, but it has to be paired with a solution to it. You have to solve a problem. The reason that's so critical is back to what your earlier question about psychology. When you solve a problem in someone's life, it causes the release of oxytocin in the body. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone that bonds baby to mother. And when you solve a problem in someone's life, it bonds them to you. So that's the third thing. The fourth thing is it has to leave the big problems unsolved. If you solve all of their problems for a bargain, they're going to think you're wonderful, but you're going to go broke. So you have to leave the big problems unsolved. And then the fifth thing is it has to naturally lead to your core offer. So those are some of the ingredients. For the complex offers, there's a couple other things. Structurally, it has to be a minimum of 4, maximum of 5 deliverables. It has to have at least one workshop where you're doing, I think I've updated that to at least 2 workshops where you're doing face-to-face with somebody, and your job is not to solve the problem for them. Your job is to put the bumper guards up in the bowling alley and make them roll the ball down the lane. And that's really critical. Something else that we like to design in there is what we call scarecrow. Scarecrows scare off your non-ideal clients. If we go back to Bob Stupak's Vegas example, it's, that example attracts people who like to drink and gamble. It's not an attraction for me. It's maybe not exactly a scarecrow. It doesn't scare me away, but it's a unappealing offer because I can stay somewhere else, actually a little bit cheaper, and have something that's more in tune with what I'm looking for. So those are some other things that go in the offer as well.
Thank you. Can you give me an example of a first-time offer that worked well for you or your clients?
Sure. Well, let me give one. This is, I think, my favorite offer that I ever designed. And this was for somebody who did commercial construction. His customers were investors. So he would build a big commercial building with the purpose of making money for he and his investors. So he had to bring in new investors. And he said, and one of the things I asked him, I said, well, what's the value of an investor to your business? And he sat down, he thought about it, and he's like, they're worth about $5 million. And I said, okay, if their lifetime value is $5 million, how much would you be willing to spend to acquire a new customer? And he paused and he thought about it, and he said, I'd be willing to spend $1 million. Like, great. That gives me money to play with to acquire customers for you. And so when we broke it down, his projects were typically worth, and I said, I want you to carve out $500,000 and put them into $100,000 chunks, $100,000 buckets. And here's what you offer the new investors. You go up to them and you say, hey, you know what? You don't know me. I don't know you. I want to do some business together, but I don't want to ask you to give millions of dollars. I just want you to invest $50,000 in this project. When you invest $50,000, we will immediately match it with another $50,000 in shares. So the second you become an investor, you double your money. And usually these investors were people that ran family offices. They managed finances for very wealthy families, and it gave them a way to go back and tell their clients, hey, we're trying out this new investment vehicle. And guess what? The day we invested in it, we doubled your money. So that was one of the 5 deliverables. There were some other ones that tied in that were just critical to that industry. But you see how that's irresistible. Give me $50,000. I will immediately match it with another $50,000, which is going to make it really hard for them to lose money on that deal. And it also shelters their exposure, not putting $1 million at risk in their first engagement.
Thank you. What strategies do you use during the first-time offer phase to ensure potential clients feel confident in making a larger purchase?
So it goes back to some of the structural things. And the biggest one is the power of the workshops that you do during the deliverables. And so Again, the way I describe it is like a bowling alley. You put up the bumper guards and you get them to roll the ball down the lane. Well, when they're doing that, it starts triggering some more things psychologically. One, there's a cognitive bias called the IKEA effect. IKEA discovered by chance that when people took the box furniture home and assembled it, their perceived value of it was higher than the furniture was really worth. And so what they learned was when people labor on something, they value it more. And so that's the first thing. The other, another bias that triggers them is the endowment effect. And that is that we value things that we own more highly than things that we don't own. And now they have a sense of ownership. And the third thing in those workshops that kind of guarantee it is when you force them to roll the ball down the lane, all you're doing is writing down their ideas. So when it comes time to move forward, for them to not move forward, they would have to reject their own ideas.
Interesting. So how do you make the transition from a first-time offer to a higher ticket offer?
So the final deliverable in a first-time offer, and this is going to sound complicated at first, but I will simplify it immediately. The final deliverable has to be the solution to a problem that's uniquely created by the successful delivery of the preceding deliverables. Okay, that's a mouthful and that's confusing. Let me give an example. If I sold boats for a living and somebody came onto my boat yard, I would tell them, I'd say, we're going to find the perfect boat for you. But once you buy your boat, you're going to have a new problem. You're going to need a place to dock it. Now, reality is they have a lot of new problems, but let's talk about the fun one. You're going to need a place to do boat. Well, guess what? We have relationships with all the marinas, all the yacht clubs in the area. We know their prices. We will find the perfect place for you to dock your boat. We will make introductions if you'd like. Not only that, we will deliver your boat to your slip. So all you and your family have to do is grab your cooler, grab your picnic basket, get on your boat and have a fantastic day. So that's an example of kind of painting their picture. You're moving them to a success mindset and moving them towards the future. The final deliverable, often in ones that we design, are an execution plan. Hey, once you have all this, once you have these things, they're not going to do anything for you alone, but they're going to have a lot of potential. And your biggest question is going to be, what do I do first? Well, we're going to help you prioritize that so you get the most results for your effort quickly. And so that's how, and guess what? Those next steps, that's where it's going, leading into the core offer. For them to move forward, they have to buy your core offer.
Thank you. What cues or signals indicate that a prospect is ready for the next step?
Yeah, the beauty of this is when you do all these things, usually they say, hey, this has been great. What do we do next? So they start closing themselves. You don't have to sell. When you do this right, you don't have to sell.
Thank you. How important is timing in making the transition from a low-cost offer to a high-ticket sale?
Well, I would say from the time that you wrap up the mini project to the time you talk about the next step, you want it to be as short as possible. You know, they've had this experience of working with you. It feels good. You know, they're ready to move forward. And you don't want to let that shelf. You want to go ahead and start moving forward. And, you know, the reality is they want to move forward. So it's not a lot of work, because when they came to you, they had a problem they were hoping you could solve. You painted the path for solving, you know, you solved a small problem in their life, and you've painted the path to solve the big problem. So usually they're ready to go ahead and get started.
Thank you. So am I right in understanding that you get all of your clients to go through 2 workshops, and those workshops are your first time offer? Am I right in saying that?
So for me, when I'm working with clients, we actually have 3 workshops. You know, and so, you know, I can't remember if I told you I have a book called Make Sales Magical. When I was writing the book, I updated it to say, you know, it needs to be a minimum of 2, but we really do 3. That's a part of the first time offer. There's other parts where we don't need them in the workshop, but those workshops are critical. And part of the reason we do 2 or 3 is we're just trying to create experiences. The more experience you have with someone, the more you trust them. And so in different settings, you do things, you work with them to help them solve problems, to help them see things. Actually, if you do the workshops right, they start realizing they have problems they didn't know about. And so all of a sudden they realize, oh my goodness, my problem's much bigger than I thought. And he's the one that helped me figure this out. He's the one that's going to help me solve it.
Thank you. How do you ensure that people who start with the first-time offer stick around long enough to convert into high-ticket clients?
Historically, our numbers have been about 80%. And I found when you have the offer structured correctly, the conversion's kind of automatic on the back end.
Wow, that's really a high number.
Yeah.
How do you identify and target the right audience for your first-time offer, ensuring they're the right fit for the eventual high-ticket offer?
So we don't advertise the offer. The offer is not actually in our advertisement. It's something that happens in the very sales conversation. And so we don't offer that offer to everybody. So if we're in a conversation with somebody and we realize for whatever reason it's not right for them or it's not right for us, we never make the offer. And so it's a matter of getting people into the sales conversation. And we use kind of the same methods that you see elsewhere. You have referrals, people send referral business to you. You can do advertising of different types. And usually when we're doing advertising, we're offering a piece of content in exchange for their contact details. And once we get that contact details, we just start a conversation. And when it converts to a conversation over Zoom, that's where we sell the offer.
Thank you. What role does customer segmentation or profiling play in your first-time offer marketing?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So each offer, when we design the offer, we design it around a specific persona. And when you present an offer to somebody who doesn't fit that persona, the offer doesn't resonate because when you're targeting a different persona, they usually have different needs. So a lot of that's just about what's coming into your funnel, and you want to make sure that your outreach, however you're acquiring leads, whether it's preferred way is content marketing. The first step is in your content marketing determines the type of people that are coming in. One of the phrase I used to do a lot of fishing, and one of my sayings is how you bait your hook determines the fish you catch. And so when you're looking at your content marketing, you don't want content that everybody wants. You want content that your ideal client wants, uniquely wants. And the more specifically it speaks to them, the more you get your ideal clients into your funnel and having those conversations, presenting the offers to them, and then them converting.
Thank you. What type of content marketing or messaging do you use to market a time offer effectively?
So the offer isn't something that we put out in our advertising. If you're asking, how do I put it out to my clients? It's, I talk about it on LinkedIn, and I create content. We have a piece of content that says, how to build an offer that will break your cash register. And that's a piece of content that somebody will want. We actually released some new content about how to raise prices, because it's been inflationary recently and everybody's feeling the pinch. My wife went to the grocery store, came back from the grocery store Saturday, and she said, I tried to shop so well, but everything's so expensive now. And so everybody's feeling the price pinch. That's the big pain that people are feeling. And so we just released some content about how you should raise your prices because people want to, they just don't know how. And so that brings our ideal client in.
Thank you. How does your messaging change when moving from a first-time offer to a high-ticket offer?
It really doesn't change much. So the final deliverable is an execution plan, and so then it's just a matter of we've helped them solve a small problem. Say hey, here's where you ultimately want to go. Here's the steps to get there. Here are the steps that are most critical for you to tackle in the next 90 days. And so it's not even a change in the conversation. It's just a natural, fluid continuation of what you already have been talking about.
Thank you. Price objections tend to be quite common with high-ticket offers. How do you overcome them?
Well, and that's the beauty of first-time offers. And so, I mentioned I released some content about raising prices. I have found that for service businesses, high-ticket service businesses, first-time offers are one of the best mechanisms for them to raise their prices. And here's what it comes down to. People won't pay for value they don't understand. Inevitably, they're coming to you because you're the expert, because you're the expert and they're not, they don't understand all the problems they have. So they're not willing to pay for value that they don't understand. Well, when you do the delivery of a first-time offer, remember I talked about how you put up the bumper guards, you make them roll the ball down the lane. During that process, they start realizing, oh my goodness, I have more problems than I thought I had. And Lily is able to help solve these problems. Lily is all of a sudden more valuable in my life because of this revelation. And so that's something that naturally leads to the higher price, because all of a sudden Lily's delivering more value to me. Because she's delivering more value to me, I should pay more. I will pay more happily because hopefully, anybody that's providing any type of service, if you're charging $1 for your services, hopefully you're delivering $10 of value in return.
Thank you. Having said that, I find that with high ticket offers, let's say they've already experienced your first time offer and they got tremendous value from that. But then when you're offering them the high ticket offer, imagine there are some concerns and objections related to price. How do you overcome those?
So it begins when you initially make your offer, your first time offer. And so another way of phrasing your question is, does the first time offer anchor the price too low? And so when you present the offer, you have to have three things in place. One, whatever you're delivering has to be high value. If you're trying to disguise a low value thing as something that's high value, that doesn't work. It has to be high value. The second is you have to make it clear the value that you're delivering. And that's where you start anchoring to the value of your time, the value of your services. And then the third thing is you have to have a plausible reason for a one-time discount. And so when you have that plausible reason and you've already anchored at the true value that you're delivering, and you are delivering something that's high value, when you move to the next step, people, they know. As a matter of fact, when I'm going through the deliverables on the first time offer, often it's on Zoom, kind of like we are right now. And I can see it in their face. I start seeing their face get tense because they're like, oh my goodness, how much is this going to cost me? They start getting the picture because they understand it is high value. And so that's, in terms of moving them to the high value on the back end, it starts at the very, very front end.
Thank you. I'm wondering, when you're selling the super high ticket offers, do you still give them a deal, or do you just say, oh, it's 100K and that's what it is because I'm worth it?
Well, again, as I said earlier, that these have become, first time offers have become personally my best mechanism for raising my prices. So if we're charging 100K, we still want to, that should still be a bargain for our services. Now, one of our stories, we had a client a number of years ago where we tripled their revenue in 18 months. And that was tens of millions of dollars we had revenue. Remember my equation earlier? If you charge $1, make sure you're delivering $10 of value. And so let's say that we just raised their rates their revenue $10 million. Didn't charge $1 million for that. We probably should have, but that high ticket, all of a sudden it's easy. And it comes back to, you remember I talked about that guy who, I asked him what lifetime value of a customer was to him, a lifetime value of an investor. And he said $5 million. And I said, how much would you be willing to spend to get that value? He's like, I'd spend $1 million. It's an easy trade. It shouldn't be hard. If what you're doing is delivering value, it should be obvious as soon as they understand the value that you're delivering.
Thank you. How big should the delivery of the program be that they feel compelled to go from the first time offer onto the big one?
I think in answering your question is, it comes back to a principle that we live by, and it's certainly not a novel principle, but what you're really selling is the transformation. The example a lot of people give, people don't buy drills. What they really want is a hole in the wall. And so if the high ticket offer has to be made clear that if they spend that money, whatever it is they really want, they will get once they spend that money.
Thank you. How do you test and optimize your first time offers to improve conversions into high ticket sales?
That really hasn't been a big issue. What we find is we design the offer on the front end. We really haven't a lot of tinkering on the back end to get them to convert, just because historically the conversion numbers have been really good.
Thank you. What challenges arise when scaling first time offers? And how do you overcome them?
And that's a really good question, because one of the critical elements of first-time offers is a high level of touch. Again, we specialize in the high ticket stuff, and you can't set a click funnel or whatever to get people to buy, make 100,000, 6-7 figure purchases. And so there is fundamentally a scaling issue that, because you only have as many people that can do this touch. And so then it just comes to, bringing on more team members in the various roles do that. But on the back end, service businesses are always labor limited. And so it's no difference with the presence of the first time offer or the absence of it. Really makes no difference. If the first time offer didn't exist, you have the same scaling issue to deliver the back end offer, regardless of the front end offer.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential business titans, providing you with the insights to awaken to your full potential, so you can get paid to be yourself, find true happiness, and manifest anything you desire.